Hello, my name is Len Monheit. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Industry Transparency Center. And this panel is going to be discussing natural ingredients, scope, opportunity, and challenges in Asia Pacific region. And we've got a fine assemblage of persons around the table here that are going to discuss their expertise. So we're going to go around the table with my panelists now.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Pankaj Nei. I'm part of Astorial Japan. I take care of Astorial business in West Asia and Southeast Asia, and I'm a president of the Astorial India office and do take care of all the marketing of one of the most finest ingredient called natural astringent. And for the today's topic, it's all about, I think, my personal experience to understand the market opportunity, read the culture, see the scope, and how to market this wonderful ingredient in Asia Pacific region. I'm happy to share my learning of 1 decade to this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. My name is Hesh Patel, and I'm a managing director of the Ketia Gupta phyto extraction, and we are the high quality ingredient manufacturing in India. And our focus is to give the complete solution from sustainability to traceability and the continuous consistent supply to all the nutraceutical industry for the botanical ingredients. So this is what we do.
Great, thank you Len, Pankaj and Hitesh. I'm Kratika. I am from OmniActive Health Technologies. I lead global marketing function for OmniActive. OmniActive is a reputed supplier of natural, efficacious, clinically backed ingredients for human health. In my role, I not just lead the marketing efforts for the company across all the key markets we operate in globally, but also we lead innovation decisions collectively as a team. I'm passionate about being able to impact consumer health with efficacious, safe, natural ingredients, and which is why I'm extremely grateful to be a part of this panel today with all the team members here, and I would love to contribute to where the opportunities and innovation opportunities particularly lie in Asia Pacific region. Thank you.
Hey Lynn, everyone. My name is Eric Caston. I'm a general manager and executive officer with Fuji Chemical Industries of Japan. Fuji Chemicals is a traditional pharmaceutical company with a long history in the Japanese industry, but for the last 30 years we've really been invested in the nutraceutical industry and have been active here in India for the last 15 or 20 years or so. We're super excited to talk about nutraceutical opportunities in APAC. It's actually the region where we see the most growth, but not only the most growth, the most varied markets. There's completely different markets in India, Thailand, Korea, throughout the region. So we think it's a great opportunity to come together and discuss the opportunities here. Thanks.
Cheers, Eric. I'm Oran Yang. I am the president of Freedom Nutri Group of the Indo-Pacific. The reason why I'm here today is I want to share and communicate with everybody how we should communicate our passion, our views and our opinions to the wider audience, the consumers, to our partners, to our trading partners, to our colleagues in the industry. The goal is to hopefully impart a few tidbits, a few nice to knows, and a few what to watch out fors. So I hope today we can really do that and have fun doing it.
Absolutely. So I think you'll agree we've got a pretty well-rounded panel with expertise around the region. I'm not from the region, I'm based in the United States, but actually with global interests, and the middle word of my company is transparency. So I think what we're going to drive to is telling our story and being transparent as we do it for the best efforts and the best position of our industry. We're talking natural ingredients, but really we're on an ecosystem, in an ecosystem that starts with the consumers. So let's start with the consumers. Where are they? What are the growth drivers that we need to understand that impact the consumers? How are they thinking about their health concerns, the role of Nutra in that, these types of things, and what are the value drivers for consumers that we need to consider from the ingredient supply system?
Let me take the first question and highlight my opinion on this. The Asia is aging. If you look at the Asian, the mean health or median health, Asia, if you look at Korea and Japan and China, all of us are aging, and the aging comes with a lot of health complications. So a lot of age-related, if you look at the nutraceutical especially, or health ingredient, a lot of age-related health complications are the driver for the consumption of Nutra, especially in the Korea and Japan and in China. But when it comes to the market like India, Bangladesh, there I think the key drivers are lack of nutrition, targeted health indications, right? I'll give you the example, one of the example. In Japan, maybe, and Eric would agree with me, aging-related complication would be the key driver. Educated customer, aware customer. Where when you come to the Indian subcontinent part, where the lack of nutrition could be one of the biggest driver. And the way consumer behavior here is totally working a different way. Here, as I mentioned, most of the decisions are being made by the, I think, influencer I would call doctors, right? In terms of, because the consumer are not making those decisions. If somebody is having some, let's say, mental health issues, heart health issues, women's health issues, what they're doing the first, they're going to the doctors, and doctors are writing or advocating ingredient and health products. And we have seen, we as a company, Astorial, we have seen these buying patterns, right? When we market and sell our ingredient in mature market, Korea and Japan, the way decisions are being made are totally different, not only in terms of the health categories, but also who are making those decisions. So I think when it comes to the, in terms of identifying the scope, your communication becomes very different in Korea and Japan and China and Thailand. I consider them a mature market. And when it comes to market like India, Bangladesh, maybe Middle East, where consumer awareness level is, I would say, still evolving, right? There the communication become different, the target audience become different. Yes, you want to sell your ingredient to the consumer, but sometimes the medical fraternity is the targeting of your science communication. When it comes to challenges, I think India is the regulatory barriers are still evolving. I mean, the regulatory framework is evolving, whereas some of the market is pretty mature. You want to market your ingredient in Thailand or maybe in Korea. They are very structured regulatory framework, what you can say, what you can't say. In this part of the world, I think probably the regulatory framework is still evolving.
If I may just add to it, Len, to your point on what really consumers are thinking and what is driving them to supplementation, because we all see the numbers, and when it comes to Asia Pacific nutraceutical market, it is showing growth between 7 to 9%, if I mean without quoting the sources, and given the huge base that it is on, almost $145 billion, this is a significant CAGR to have. Now, from our lens, how we see the consumer behavior changing, yes, COVID-19 has had its role to play, because there is a shift towards preventive health awareness. There is a movement towards this holistic health encompassing physical and mental wellness. People understand that yes, your food and what is going into your diet is important, but then there is also that growing awareness that all the essential nutrients that you need for your day-to-day and for your longevity are not all the time being met through your diet, given our choices, given our lifestyle, given just the kind of age we live in. And this is where growing awareness or shift towards supplementation, but largely in the context of preventive healthcare. You alluded to the health benefit conditions which are driving these purchase decisions, particularly for consumers. And here, in fact, I would say that I do see a pattern. There is an age-related pattern, but stress and anxiety, mood, mental energy, cognition, even digestive and gut health. These are some benefit conditions which you would see a pattern across Asia Pacific, and I would say that in fact globally, which are driving towards supplementation and growing awareness. So this is just lent to your point on what's really happening at the consumer end.
Adding to this, people have started understanding that whatever problems they are facing at this moment are the lifestyle diseases. And if they will continue taking the medications, they have in their mind that maybe that ultimately lead to the another problem. So they are looking at getting healthy by naturally. So this is a very big thing at this moment, because if you see, every new generation have their mother, father, parents back home. They have some or the other problem, especially diabetes and the cardiovascular. And they don't wanted to face those problems, and they really wanted to enjoy the life because now they have the money also. So with going forward, they think that let's enjoy the life, let's celebrate very balanced way and have all the natural ingredients rather than getting sick, prevent ourselves. This is what at this new generation are thinking.
I'll probably just add to that. We all see our parents. We see them age. We see them get frail. You see them every year. They get older and older, weaker and weaker. The best gift you could give them is health. The happiest thing you could do for yourself, in a selfish sense, is to ensure that your family and your parents have a long life, but a long, healthy life. So I think that going back to the point of the insights and the change of the consumer, is that there's been an increasing pressure of the younger generation imposing onto the older generation on how to maintain their said wanted lifestyle for as long as they can. Personally, that's how I do it. And I think that in the end, if you drum into something long enough into somebody, maybe a small amount sticks to them, maybe. And I think that as we've gone through in the last decade of proliferation of information, education, of advertisement, we've all found that nutraceuticals and natural ingredients is a lot easier to swallow, per se, than a doctor prescribing a regime of 10 or so tablets, because you had a myriad of bad habits that led you to where you are.
Yeah, I think, of course, there's multiple different markets, of consumers, and just incredibly varied. You have the people that want to be beautiful, the people that want to be better at sports, the people that want to, just anti-aging, mobility. You've got consumers that make their supplement decision based on a TikTok video. You have other consumers that make their decision based on a 3-hour deep dive podcast on omega-3s. And India is fascinating because you have all of those markets operating at the same time. As Pankaj mentioned, there's a huge segment of consumers that are trying to address nutritional shortfall through, multivitamins. That's, hugely important. You have other people that are really on the cutting edge. They, nootropics and cognitive enhancement, sports. So I think India is a good example of all of those, all of those consumers together in one market that's probably unlike anywhere else. So it's a really fascinating place to consider what consumers are after.
Can I add on that point, especially on the opportunity point, because we are sitting in this very much iconic place, especially in Mumbai Taj Hotel. You look at right now, where is the opportunity, and I'll talk on India specific, right? And from the government policy level, also from the macroeconomics level. Right now we are close to 4 trillion. Our expenditure on the healthcare is merely 2%, where you look at in US, it is in double digit. And that will become too much of a burden on any government if they don't promote preventive healthcare, right? To take care of so many people. I believe in terms of, the opportunity, there is no choice, but it becomes mandatory, right? To take a preventive healthcare very seriously. And also from the consumer level, if you cut down, if you divide and calculate the per capita, it is close to 2,700 USD, which I believe is a low income growth. But the moment the economy jumps to 5 trillion, suddenly you are into the gap of 33 to 3,500, and that comes with the additional disposable income of 5 to 700 USD. What do people do with that? You're going to spend on lifestyle products, you're going to take care of your health, you're going to take care of, your family health, other factors too. I believe that it's going to be really, really revolutionary changes in terms of nutraceutical, food fortification, taking care of changing the lifestyle, the behavioral changes. Next decade, we're going to see some ultra consumerism in terms of, OTC product and healthcare products.
So I think there's a couple of themes that have emerged here pretty consistently that we need to consider if we're talking APAC. We've got mature markets, we've got the developing markets, and even the developing markets are going to sub-segregate. We've got the prevention mentality that's going to be rampant, exciting for growth. We've got the influencers. You talked about the healthcare practitioner as an influence set, talked about the various markets. So there's lots of opportunities. So consumers are ready for what we as ingredient suppliers and people within the industry have to offer. Want to just tie up that we will talk a little bit more about the values of these consumers, especially the new consumers that we want to enter the space in an educated manner. But we're going to move on, and we can come back to any of these topics. We're now going to talk about market entry, barriers to market entry, some of the challenges in doing business as a supplier in the APAC region, the complexities, how do you manage innovation, how do you manage claim structure, the supply chain partners in order to effectively get through these barriers. So that's a total scope of what the next section of this panel is going to discuss. Who wants to take the first aspect of position on that?
I had a thought on that when you were mentioning, which is, we were talking about Asia and those barriers to entry. Things are absolutely not harmonized, from market to market. And I think it's an interesting discussion point is like, do we want them to be, harmonized? It's been a very interesting experience for us. That if you look at the industry as a whole, probably harmonization would be a very good thing. That would certainly help things on the way to 100 billion. For a company like us that has been the first mover in a lot of markets where we had to introduce a completely new ingredient, go through the completely different regulatory hurdles in each market to get it registered for sale, it's actually been good for us. The companies that are willing to wade through those regulatory challenges and get their ingredients properly registered in different markets that have completely different regulatory schemes, it does create a barrier of entry, which could be good for some companies, maybe not great for the market as a whole. So that's maybe just some thoughts to start us down the barriers to entry discussion.
I believe Eric actually summarized it very well. One word is heterogeneity. I liked how you left it, that yes, it's good for some and it's really challenging for some. And maybe I'll try and give a perspective from, new age companies that are trying to get into Asia Pacific to begin with, because some of us, because if I were to also cover OmniActive, yes, we are well penetrated into some of these countries, and over years you have that learning journey of being able to really understand the regulations in the market. And yes, that is where your expertise of local partners becomes extremely crucial. From an innovation lens, a little less heterogeneity can definitely help the market, because it's the pace of getting a new solution into the market. It's also the pace of the overall, decision making and trying to give, for example, there might be a solution, and I'm talking about the entire formula now, starting from your actives to your additives to the excipients, and what claims you can make, not make, and in a way, how should your clinical study be really designed according to the regulations of a particular market. So very often for companies which are of a certain scale, doing this for several countries in Asia Pacific can be a major strain on the bandwidth, and hence they would end up prioritizing few and not really taking the solution to the larger span or the larger Asia Pacific, let's say. So this is where I believe that an ease of understanding, interpreting, and the decision making, even the approval process, that the time it takes country by country, if this was a little less heterogeneous, it would definitely aid innovation. This would be my view.
So what you're saying is that you really need a strategy. You need to, so you need to anticipate all of these things. And so there's some advantages in being the innovator and working with the partners locally, and the barriers up to give a market advantage. Does that mean you prefer the more mature markets where the market is already developed? Like how do you rationalize that with the emerging markets where you're going to have to spend even more time?
Well, I believe that my personal opinion is one size fits all is not ideal. The nature of the human mind means that we all want to be different, and hence we create rules and perceptions on what fits our version of health. And we also have a propensity to promote our domestic production and consumption. And that leads us back to the point where I think, Len, we're talking about there's nothing better than boots on the ground and where you want to be. No one will give you a better insight or responsive and real feedback than people that are operating there. And that's where I guess we've been playing the game for as a distributor. We don't have our own products, so everything that comes to us, we don't have foresight in what could be or would be the next blockbuster. But it does mean that when we do see an opportunity come through, we do have to quickly analyze and say, what is the cost and time and effort and money versus what would be the potential payback if you were, well, we all are ingredient suppliers. So overall, I think that the differences in the mosaic of the APAC region is really, really a boon, actually, because if we were all the same, they were all the same, we would say the same thing to everybody. Where's the fun in that? We should all be unique.
So we're going to open to the third topic that we wanted to talk about in addition to this regulatory barriers, market access concept to supply chain and transparency. What is transparency? It's important. I believe it's important. Sourcing, the environmental impact. We're talking about natural ingredients. So sustainability and other, going back to these value drivers also come into play. The availability of botanical raw materials, the limitations, and then we have manufacturing. Okay, so
so I would like to take this forward regarding the availability of the raw material. That of course it's a natural ingredient produced from the natural products, so there will be always a challenge. Some products which are coming from the cultivation part, and some are coming from the forest, where always a challenge will be there, because those products are from the tree, which requires to grow almost 50 years, 100 years, correct? So if you cut it every time, it will vanish at one day. So simultaneously, one has to do growing practices in the forest area, which is government and the private also are doing it, but it will take its own time. But of course, on the other hand, the product which is produced from the cultivation species that are now very well systemizing the entire agriculture practices, where people are growing very systematically. All the companies who have the interest in the ingredient are also looking towards the backward integration. They are educating the farmers. They are seeing that how they can produce the optimum level of the yield. Because if you see that 20 years before and today, the yield ratio per acre have been increased, and they see that how the resources of the society to be used less and they can produce more. Ultimate farmer should get more. So eventually, if you see, the availability will not have challenge as long as the interested parties are taking more active role into the growing side. And if you talk about the transparency, of course, transparency is at most required in this natural product, because when you see the label, now you might have seen the labels in USA, you just scan the barcode, you will have the complete traceability where this product have been grown, how it has been grown, who was the farmer, who was the manufacturer of the ingredient, standardized extracts, suppliers, complete traceability is there. So when you have such thing, the brand owners, they will have the confidence to sell the product. They can convey the faith, and the buyer, consumer, while popping the peel, they will also have the faith that I am taking some good things. So they will have some psychological effect also, that oh, it's a good thing, so I should get better. So it will have a 200% of the benefit, correct? And while having this entire supply traceability, there cannot be any malpractices to add any synthetic material or any foreign material into the natural product. So it is very essential. And as far as the sustainability is concerned, it is now a big thing in the world. You can see the heat here in the Mumbai, which was never before 10-15 years ago. So if the product, if the industry becomes sustainable, right from the reducing the carbon emission and giving more to the society, then definitely it will impact to the entire natural product industry.
Yeah, I think I'll second my opinion exactly on that line. I think sustainability, if you look at these days, sustainability is becoming the core value of the responsible companies. Especially it is in our, if you look at Astorial, sustainability, quality and efficacy, safety, these are the core value of our businesses. And I think on that, the brand, what brand promises and delivers, it goes back to how do we generate the trust. We have to, trust is generated either over the period of time when what you promise, when you deliver it again and again, it has to be backed by the the science and the safety and the efficacy, and those parts are not built over 1 year or 2 years. They are built over the period of the decades, and there where, especially in a company like us, we make sure that we are not taking too much from the mother nature, right? There where the technologies are evolving, we are making sure that what we produce, they are produced safely, they are safe for the human consumption. They are what we are producing, we are actually becoming very transparent in terms of our communication when we are going to the B2B customer, when they are communicating to the consumer. We are making sure that whatever is there, we are becoming very clear. And then again, I'll go back that for any brand, especially in our industry, safety and efficacy, you cannot compromise on that part. And if you can deliver these two, your brand will evolve, it will become stronger and stronger, and you have to make these practices, it has to be a practice within the organization.
Morgan, how does that translate and communicate through you when you're the distribution partner?
This is one of the big pillars that we look at. 5 years ago, it was a nice to say, not to do. Today's different. You actually need to say what you do and do what you say. I would like my children to live in a world that's the same or better than I have today. And sustainability is the key thing that will help maintain this. When we have natural products, we are cultivating, we are harvesting, we are sowing, we are doing multiple harvests throughout the calendar year. What we look for as a distributor with our partners is that we look for people that are responsible in how they do it, because we want to communicate that we are doing our part to the end user, to the brands, and it's the brand's responsibility to, as you say, tell their story. How are they portraying what they do is aligned with the values of what the consumer has? This will change. Today's values are not tomorrow's values. So we have to be, or preemptively and proactively, we need to put our feelers out and understand what are the key attributes that the consumers really value. Value is a key word here, guys. Value can cover anything. It can cover the cost of the goods, it can cover the efficacy of the product, the safety, but in the end it covers, is the money that I'm paying meeting the goals that I set myself to achieve?
So we talked about technologies to increase yield, natural technologies, and there's other technologies that are in place to supply chain manage, provide the visibility. So, and we've seen some best practices. We have some best practices. You talked about some of the technologies that you're looking at to drive yield with minimum impact on resources. We've also talked about values, and if there's a value trade, it sometimes comes down to economics, and values are going to change for new consumers. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that.
Values. Yeah, I mean, our values, sometimes we do sales for, Pankaj and I were talking about this, sometimes you do sales for a long time. You repeat your story so many times that you start to, do I believe my own story anymore? Yeah. But then you come around and say, like, no, this what we're saying is actually true. And what our message has always been, purchase the science-backed, ingredient, purchase something that works. And I think especially in this industry, to us that science is a value. You want to sell something that has some backing behind it. And that's what we have, that's what we have always, done. That's how we've sold our ingredient. We position our ingredient as the most studied brand of astaxanthin. And so I think for us, that's the biggest value that we have, is to sell something. And we're currently on the search. We'll do some PR. We're currently on the search for our next ingredient. And what we're looking for from the beginning is some solid science, because we don't really know how to sell it any other way than selling something that's based on the science. So I think that's, when we talk about values, that would be the biggest one that comes to mind for us. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same.
It might be a little repetitive, but I'll still say it because we've spoken about transparency, sustainability, and also the new age consumer values. And I would just maybe start with transparency a little bit, and I'll say that while you all covered it, it's actually two buckets for how we see it: transparency in science and transparency in the supplies. And when I say transparency in science, everything that you said, Eric, because eventually that is the cornerstone. At the end of the day, no matter what we do, what we end up impacting is a consumer's health. And I like how you bring the personal touch here, Morgan, because when we all are eventually consumers in a way, right? So I would want to be able to trust a product that I work on and trust it with the same confidence with which I'll buy a product for my child, for that matter, right? And this is where I totally understand where Eric is coming from, because I'll have that shared value, and so does OmniActive, because eventually it is the science. What your active is it in the efficacious dose or not? How safe it is in your body? Is it getting absorbed or is just getting exited, right? Is it really delivering the benefit that you're really paying for, right? With safety, toxicology, clinical efficacy, all of that established and made available to a consumer for the ones who really want to research and get to. And which is where, when I said transparency in science, to your point earlier, Hitesh, a QR code enabling it, and I see some of the brands in India very much doing it. So that just tells me that there are consumers out there who are doing the bit to look for what science work has been put into an ingredient. And then comes transparency in supplies. I know it's we're not there as an industry, but there is a lot of positive movement towards this direction, and eventually it will become a must to have and not really nice to have, where you exactly know that the formula you're buying, where was the raw material sourced from, where was it even grown, to all the point, the seed to sale kind of traceability that gets established. So that's on transparency bit. And the sustainability, coming back to your point on the new age consumer, because we were discussing this a while back, that how at least the younger generation is becoming more particular about the environmental impact of their purchases, and that is beginning to apply to our industry. Yes, some countries are talking about it more than the others, but you do feel the shift, you do feel the momentum in the dialogue. Environmental sustainability and social sustainability, we as OmniActive take two of these together, and at the end of the day, it's us being responsible and doing our bit.
Well, I'm going to wrap us up. I think it's been a very engaging discussion. I don't think we solved any of the challenges globally, but I think we've addressed what they are and some solutions. I think that there's some opportunities. It's an exciting marketplace, and supply chain is at the cornerstone of the growth of this industry. So thank you very much for everybody's contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.